Will there even be such a thing as landscape photographers going forward? And if there is, what will they even bring to the table? Photographers are scared. And it's kind of hard not to be right now. Even as a software engineer myself, I know that AI has the potential to generate code, to do a lot of the tasks that I've been doing as a computer engineer, and do it much better than I've been doing it. In a world where software engineers build applications and tools to automate things, AI offers the possibility to automate everything. But this recent wave of AI, which we've seen on Instagram, even if we didn't know it, or played around with on ChatGPT, it does something that we didn't really think was possible, something that we thought that only humans would have the capability of doing, and AI could never do. It's starting to generate photos, ideas, creative things which we always attributed to humanity. But does that mean it's the end of landscape photography, a field we know to be a very creative one? And for those of us who are just starting our journey in this field, what does that mean for us, and what can we do about it? AI has come a long way, and I think we tend to focus too much on what it's replacing rather than what it can actually help us build. And I know the recent trend in AI for landscape photography has just been people generating images using AI to gather more attention. But there's always going to be people who try to gain attention in any way, shape, or form, and do so without actually putting the heart and soul into what they're creating. And generative AI is just the latest, albeit pretty powerful tool that those people can then use to scam and trick people. But let's try to focus on what it can do for us landscape photographers who are in it to pour our heart and soul into the photos that we create. The first and biggest benefit is that generative AI is a great equalizer. There have been a lot of studies showing this, especially around things like ChatGPT, where the tool was used by a set of employees, and what they saw was that those employees who were just starting out, who didn't have as much experience, gained the most benefit from such a tool. ChatGPT offers a lot more advantages to those people who are just starting out, who might not have the resources to do all the things that more experienced people or people who are already in the industry have the capability of doing. And that's why generative AI like this does offer the advantage to those people who are relatively inexperienced, especially for us beginner landscape photographers. So how does that actually work? Well, for landscape photography, think of it like this. A lot of us don't really have enormous budgets to buy the best gear out there. And we know that better gear offers better image quality, better images, and just generally a more satisfying experience at the end of it. So for those of us who are just starting out, for those of us who don't have the money to buy the latest camera, generative AI is then being used in tools like Lightroom and Photoshop to make up some of the gaps. So even if you have a noisy picture because your camera can't deal with the limited light that you were shooting in, you can still bring out a lot more detail using Lightroom to get back to a place where you actually find that the image has good quality. So now what you're seeing is you're able to use cheaper equipment to get started in landscape photography and generate images, although not the highest quality, still pretty good quality relative to what you would have been able to do just with the camera at hand. And it's these tools that are going to continue to progress to allow those people who don't have a lot of money to throw at landscape photography to be able to still generate those really nice photos that will bring them joy. But landscape photography isn't just limited to editing, right? It's going out and planning for those photos, planning the weather, looking at the details of a scene and trying to compose that into a 2D image that will hopefully have a lot more depth in it. And so tools like ChatGPT offer something for those landscape photographers, for those photographers who are just starting out in their field like me and who don't really have access to a mentor but want to learn quickly. But more than that, it can actually help inspire you about the type of landscape photography that is open to you. I don't have very big mountains or open vistas around me, but I've used ChatGPT on numerous occasions describing it the type of landscape around me to try and see what type of landscape photos I might actually enjoy doing. And from there, I can actually go out and take photos of those scenes and try to build a better understanding of the type of photos that I actually enjoy taking. And that's what I think is one of the most powerful things that new generative AI models have to offer to us landscape photographers. It's the ability to become a lot more inspired by our local landscapes, by the areas around us. It's the things we don't see very often, the things that aren't really shown to us using the algorithms on social media. But it's the things that will actually make us enjoy our local landscapes and enjoy landscape photography a lot better. And even with all the tools that are currently available, there are things that I'm still really excited and looking forward to with AI as it progresses. What I really want from AI is the ability to help landscape photographers like us get a better understanding of the photos that we're taking. Not necessarily whether the photos are any good or bad, but basically being able to analyze the type of photos we take, the type of editing that we do, and kind of present it to us. Present different ideas of how a collection might look like, present different ideas of how we might want to edit a certain photo. We don't necessarily have to take what it gives us, but it will help us, inspire us with whatever we have. We tend to look at other photographers for inspiration. I want AI to help us look at ourselves for inspiration and then build off of that. Even if it can generate full collections for you to then take and publish. I think we'll see something very similar to how we used presets, where we will start to use that tool, but then soon enough realize that there are things that we want to change about it. And maybe that tool becomes a starting point for all of our work. Maybe it's just used when we really don't know how to go about doing things, but once we develop that intuition, and we're able to do that on our own. But there is a place where it can be taken a little bit too far, and I think those are the things that we need to be wary of with AI. We've already seen that people are out there generating images which they classify as landscape photos, but they're using entirely AI generated images to do so, and not even disclosing that it was generated by AI. There is a problem in that where it will dilute the field a little bit, but I think the main problem in it is that when us landscape photographers who are in it for the creative pursuit start using it because we feel that it's the only way to progress in this field, to monetize our work, to get attention from people who will then want to look at our images. And I think for those images, they will start to become classified as landscape images, but there's always going to be a divide, and I think that divide will always be dependent on the photographer. It'll then be required by the photographer to become a lot more authentic, to basically show credibility towards the photos that they create rather than the images that they could generate. But even taking that into account, we shouldn't get very complacent, because AI will start to get very powerful, and it will get to a point where it can actually decide the composition for us, where all we would be required to do is take the camera to the location that it tells us to go and just press the shutter button when it tells us to do so. And I think we can all agree that that isn't really in the spirit of landscape photography. Landscape photography is about the connection with nature and then taking that connection and putting it into the photo that we make. So when we do that through AI, we're losing that connection, and it might not show in a single image, but I think through the career of that landscape photographer, people will start to see that there's no heart in that photo. And because of that is why I think the field of landscape photography won't end with the onset of AI. Sure, AI has become a lot more difficult for a lot of different types of photographers to monetize their photography. But for amateur landscape photographers, I think the creative pursuit of going out there and taking photos cannot and won't be replaced by AI. Sure, we would all love to get paid doing what we love, but before money was even in the picture, landscape photographers did it because they loved it. So with AI, what's going to become more and more important for you to be able to sell your images is to be able to connect with people a lot more through your images. People will still continue to buy landscape photos, not because they see something beautiful, but because of the photographer and their connection to the photographer and the photographer's connection to the place. Thanks for watching till the end. This is a topic that I'm really interested in because I've seen a lot of landscape photographers become worried about how AI will change everything. And I think maybe it's because I'm an amateur landscape photographer, don't really get paid for the photography that I do, that I'm focused more on how much benefit it can bring, because I also tend to see how different technology changes have changed photography in general, where photography used to be just reserved for those people who were willing to put in the effort to lug their big film cameras out into the field and then go back and process those films in a darkroom. It used to be a very laborious task, and it has become just a lot more easy. Similarly, I think AI is going to make landscape photography a lot more accessible to a lot more people. But I think those people who will tend to stick in landscape photography, those people who will tend to survive and thrive in landscape photography, are those people who are still going to be able to put in the heart and soul into the photos rather than letting AI generate everything they do. AI is going to disrupt photography. It's already begun to do so in things like commercial photography. But I think for landscape photography, what's more important is developing that connection with nature and then being able to share that connection with people, which I think AI as a tool won't be able to do. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.